Sooner or later, we're going to get a glimpse at the secret life of the most secret Avenger, Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow. It'll be the swan song for the popular character since she died in Avengers Endgame. Or did she? No one is ever really dead in a comic book. They're just taking a break. It's a convention so common that comic book readers have accepted that when a character dies, they're only kinda gone. Comic book movies have been no stranger to this concept. Loki has had 3 so far, and counting. Wanda's about to rip the entire multiverse apart in order to bring Vision back to life, and he's mostly an android. Bucky Barnes used to be the exception to the no one dies rule, but reports of his death were also premature. If Bucky Barnes comes back, why can't Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow, come back to life? Sure, Red Skull said there were no backsies on the sacrifice, but if it wasn't really Natasha, then there's a loophole. People impersonating another person is another staple of comic books. Sometimes it's to throw someone off the secret identity scent or cover for someone who's gone missing. It's something Nick Fury has gotten into using shape-changing aliens. Faking his own death is kind of a pastime for Fury. Should Black Widow hit that magical $1 billion mark at the box office, which might just happen because we can't wait to go somewhere that's not home, there's plenty of reason for Marvel Studios to make another Black Widow movie, which would be easier if she were still alive. Kevin Feige has said that what we see in the Black Widow movie, that's set to take place between Captain America Civil War and Avengers Infinity War, which will change the way you see Infinity War and Endgame. Having Natasha's sister Yelena take Natasha's place would certainly do that. Pretending to be someone else is a common comic book activity. Sometimes it's just to throw off the scent of someone trying to figure out who their secret identity is. Being a super spy pretending to be someone else is really the kind of thing that the Red Room graduates excel at. When we first met Natasha, she was pretending to be a personal assistant who could ninja flip Tony Stark's bodyguard. At the beginning of the first Avengers movie, she was pretending to be a ditzy woman caught in the middle of an international intrigue. A ditzy woman who could ninja flip while tied to a chair. But it's her super spying in Captain America Winter Soldier that really gives us an idea about how Yelena might take Natasha's place. As we remember, Hydra had infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. but wasn't keen on telling everyone, so Captain America and the Black Widow set about telling everyone, and crashing a fleet of helicarriers. Anyway, Natasha had to expose Secretary Pierce, and she couldn't do it as Natasha. Instead, she did it as Councilwoman Holly, by using a bit of S.H.I.E.L.D. technology that the Mission Impossible team would appreciate, the Photostatic Veil. The Photostatic Veil can make you look like anyone, as long as you're roughly as tall and have the super spy skills to go along with the veil to sell the bit. How does it do that? With the science fiction equivalent of magic known as nanotechnology. Nanotechnology, for when it has to work but you don't want to explain how. It's possible for Yelena to wear a photostatic veil and pretend to be Natasha. Bonus points since Yelena is a graduate of the Red Room and can still do all the ninja flipping. But why would she do such a thing? It's not like they could see Thanos coming, or what they'd have to do to stop him. Well, Doctor Strange could have, but he didn't until it was pretty late in the game. Thanks, pal. One of the things that defined the final arc for Natasha is how she had found a home, family, and a chance at redemption with the Avengers. That was something that S.H.I.E.L.D. hadn't given her with the compromises she'd have to make for the missions. Now that she had people like Steve Rogers and his undying optimism and sense of right and wrong, she could stand for a principle with people willing to stand with her. She honored that commitment to right and wrong by sacrificing herself to get the Soul Stone. In Black Widow, we're scheduled to meet her first family, the broken one that lived under the influence of the Red Room. Natasha has made a big deal about the red she has in her ledger. Her returning to Russia and the Red Room crew looks to be her trying to fix some issues, not just doing more good than bad to balance things out. That might have something to do with the guy in the cool mask who's biting all the Avengers' moves. We don't know who is playing the Taskmaster, but the leading candidate is O.T. Fag Bentley. We know that O.T. is playing Rick Mason, aka The Agent, but it's likely that The Agent will turn out to be Taskmaster. What we also know about the Black Widow movie is that she'll be dealing with an old flame. If that old flame is Rick Mason, and if Rick Mason is also the Taskmaster, there might be some fallout for their dust-up that requires Natasha to take a personal hand in their issues. While there has been some talk about Marvel's villains being mirror image of their heroes, rarely are the villains the hand-wringing evil for evil's sake. Killmonger wanted to fight for people exploited by colonialism, just in a way that would have made things worse. Ghost just wanted to exist in one dimension at a time. Vulture was done wrong by Tony Stark's damage control and kinda overreacted. Sure, some just wanted to steal technology and make lots of money, looking at you, Yellow Jacket. But generally, they have also been jilted by people they either thought of as mentors or thought they were mentors for. In this vein, a Rick Mason Taskmaster might just have ended up at the Red Room because of something that Natasha did. Sure, now he's all in as the leader of the Red Room with the ability to imitate people's moves, but that might not have been his choice. Actually, given how the Red Room works, it almost certainly wasn't his choice. But if it was Natasha's fault, something she'll likely discover at the end of the movie, this would leave Natasha with the burden to finish the job she came to do. If she already has commitments to the people she just defied the world's government with, that would put her in a bit of a bind. She can't be two places at once, so when it comes time to check in on Vision when he doesn't come back on time, it's a pretty simple mission. You don't need Natasha to break up a date. So while Natasha is busy doing Taskmaster redemption-related things, Yelena takes Natasha's place. The best laid plans of mice and superheroes tend to go awry. While Natasha, Rogers, and Sam were there to bring their self-aware android home from its date, the Black Order showed up and things started to snowball. Before you know it, Yelena as Natasha is fighting Thanos, and half the population of everything goes away. This means that any family that Yelena had is probably gone, perhaps even Natasha. There's a 50-50 chance here. So for 5 years, Yelena lives on as Natasha, seeing the life that Natasha has built and all the people that mean something to her. That might make her emotional about protecting the family that her sister has, as well as having that emotional attachment. There was also a bit of a change in attitude from old Nat to new Nat. The last time Natasha saw Bruce Banner, he wasn't dealing well with his Hulk self and the destruction that he causes, so he decided to take a flyer back into isolation. You thought getting ghosted was bad. Natasha got broken up with a guy by crashing a plane on purpose. Turns out a kind of popular way to leave your lover in the MCU. Just like with Peggy though, her plane crashing romantic interest came back. Unlike Peggy though, when Bruce came back, he found a bit of a cold shoulder. We were told it was because Bruce had been gone a long time and moved on. But what if it's Yelena? Yelena might be willing to stand in for Natasha, but not exactly eager to patch things up with her old boyfriends, especially big green ones. It could be that Yelena found herself stuck in the Natasha role trying to hold things together, but then she saw the opportunity that Natasha had been enjoying and decided to take that flyer off the cliff at Vormir, sacrificing herself to save both her family and her sisters. So there's both method and motivation for Yelena to take over as Natasha after Black Widow, and through Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. But how likely is it really? Death is sort of instant dramatic stakes, but dramatic stakes don't sell sequels. Coulson's death was the catalyst for the Avengers to come together. Loki basically pretends to sacrifice himself whenever he's bored with whatever scheme is. Nick Fury pretends to die just to get people to stop killing him. Which, yeah, okay, understandable. The difference is that Natasha's death was part of an arc, and it was a pretty good arc. When we meet Natasha, she's a bit of a mystery carrying a dark past. By joining the Avengers, she goes from the shadowy player with the questionable past to the one thing that keeps the remaining Avengers going in the time of the world's strife. At the very end, with literally half of the existence at stake, she is given the opportunity to do the biggest thing. The one thing that will outbalance all the wrong and guilt she carries, and sacrifice herself to get the Soul Stone. All of that would be cheapened if it turns out that it was Yelena and Natasha literally just sat out the biggest fight of the Avengers' life. It would end up being disappointing. Not to mention it would feel cheap, like discovering it was all a dream. There are other logistical problems involved with Yelena being Natasha. First of all, the Soul Stone requires a sacrifice of someone you love. Hawkeye loves Natasha, not Yelena. He hasn't been around Yelena as Natasha to love Yelena as Natasha. You probably can't trick the Soul Stone by sacrificing someone who looks like someone you love. Sure, Hawkeye thought he was sacrificing someone he loved, but with such a somber role and the Infinity Stones being the oldest things in existence, they probably can't be so easily fooled. Then there's the question of whether Black Widow got dusted during the blip. If she was wiped out in the decimation, then when Banner brought everyone back, she would have come back. Banner said that he tried to bring Natasha back with his snap, but he couldn't find her. If she was brought back, he would have found her. Well, probably. We don't know how it works. Do you make a wish or... Anyway, that would mean that she was already around. Which brings us back to the problem of Natasha hiding out and letting her sister take her place during not only the Avengers' biggest time of need, but the rest of the world's as well. While it's certainly possible for Yelena to have been Natasha, it really would be a shame. That's how Yelena might have been pretending to be Natasha when the Black Widow took a flyer off the cliff at Vormir. But what do you think? Cheap move or brilliant? Let us know in the comments, and while you're there, why not subscribe to CBR for the latest videos? Thanks for watching!